You are listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable other excellent people just like you to be able to locate this podcast. Please subscribe and leave a rating and a review. Today I want to speak to you about what I have been learning, what I have learned and what I have been learning. I'm at that place in life where I realize that more than half, 2/3, maybe 3/4 of my productive working years are kind of behind me, though I don't plan on slowing down anytime in the foreseeable future. I have a lot of time to reflect. And so I want to think about things I have learned and also what I would tell my younger self if it was in any way possible to go back and start over, which of course it's not. Well, let me give you a few of them today and see if any of them resonate with you. The first one is, I would tell my younger self, and what I've learned is you must really commit yourself to excellence. Set the standard. Don't meet the standard, you be the standard. Now, I'm not talking perfectionism. I'm not talking about never making a mistake or everything always works out. None of that. I'm just saying you need to push yourself. Left to our own devices, many of us will take the way of least resistance. And if you're going to make a difference, if you're going to be the leader, the person you really were created to be, set the standard. And don't just set any standard. Don't just try to get along just to get by. But go ahead and set standards that even frighten you. Push yourself. Demand the best that you can give. Don't settle. The worst thing you can do is just settle for mediocrity. So I would tell my younger self, make sure that whatever it is you endeavor in life, you do it with excellence. The second thing that I would tell my younger self is stick with it. Develop some grit and have a stick-to-itiveness. I have to believe that's one of the most telling signs of what a person is going to do and how things are going to work out. I have seen people in my life with just nothing more, it seemed, than really dogged determination, a refusal to give up or to give in. I have seen them succeed where it seemed in the beginning there were people with more talent who fell by the wayside. There were people who had more breaks as we look at breaks. They had parents that were for them. They had fine educations, and those are all wonderful things to have happened. But nothing overcomes dogged determination and a stick-to-itiveness. You have to stick with it when it's easy, and you have to stick with it when it's hard. You don't give up. You show up whether you feel like it or not. You learn to persevere, and you just see it through, and you just hang on. I would tell my younger self that will put you in good stead at times, even more than talent and other kinds of connections. Never underestimate a person who is determined and they're going to stick with it. Another thing I would tell my younger self is take the long view. Oftentimes we only see what's due this Friday, what I'm going to do over the weekend, or maybe if we're somewhat long range, what might happen in a month or so. But one of the greatest levers and multipliers that you have, especially anyone who's listening today who is really young, is the lever of time to multiply your efforts, and what you're doing will lead to incredible results. Even when today it doesn't seem like it's making much of a difference, that you're really moving things forward, if you stick with it, you're committed to it, you do it with excellence, you stay in for the long haul, you will discover that one of those days you'll become an overnight success after about 14 years. So take the long view. Don't just think of the immediacy of what's happening, but what are your plans for the long time? I was an employee in a denominational headquarters, and the person that I reported to had us all read the book Execution. It really was revolutionary for me in that I, like many people, had started a lot of things. I'd finished some things, but there were a lot of things left undone. You know that if someone were today to go into your closets, into your basement, into your attic, there would be lots of remnants from hobbies and projects started that were never finished. Execution is nothing more than I make a determined commitment to completion. I'm going to complete this. Right now, just do an evaluation of your own to-do list or task lists or the projects that you're working on. Are you right now, my friend, committed to see every one of them through to completion? That is what it's going to take. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would say early on, learn to build teams. Get into team building. Oftentimes we start, you're a solopreneur, you're a single person working on some project, and we work on ourselves, which is important. But whether you're in a not-for-profit where the great majority of the people you interact with are volunteers, or whether you're in a position where you can hire paid staff, it really makes no difference. The principle is still the same. And here's what that principle is. Build a solid team. Don't just surround yourself with yes people. Don't just surround yourself with people who have the same outlook, gifts, and strategies that you have. Build a great team. A team is going to take you further, faster than even the fastest single runner can. So really spend the time, build the skill, and understand what it takes to build a team. Right alongside with that, I would also tell my younger self, make sure you create an environment that is conducive and attracts and retains the best and the brightest. I often have said to leaders, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room and the wrong organization. Surround yourself with talented, gifted people who can help move things along. Create an environment that's not just built on competition, but it's built on collaboration. Bring people together, listen to them, really listen to them. You'll learn a lot. Build a partnership with them, collaborate. Those are so important. If I could go back and talk to my young self, one thing that I absolutely would tell my young self is build margin into your life. I love to read books. And if you've ever noticed, every book you've ever read has a margin in it. Would it not have been more cost effective to have run the print completely to the end of the side of the page? Well, it might from a certain cost advantage worked, but our eyes need a rest. They cannot just focus on the words. And if you run your life and your calendar crammed full with no downtime, no family time, no time for your own health, no time for your own nurturing your spirit, your mind, your heart, your physical body, it's a prescription for burnout, and at times it leaves people sadly limited. It's okay to take days off. It's great to take vacations. It's great to take care of your spirit, your mind, your body, and your relationships. Work hard. Work very hard. You know that I'm all in favor and a devotee of working hard. But just make sure you build downtime into your life. I would make sure that I nurtured healthy rhythms and patterns of life. I'd make sure I exercised. I make sure that I would, I'm a person of faith, that I build in time for spiritual disciplines, time to be with my family when we're just together. You can do both. You must do both. When you work hard. You put in a full day's work for a full day's pay. But you don't have to always take it home with you every night. Now, I understand there are deadlines and seasons. If you're a tax preparer, there are seasons. There are seasons for everyone's life where things become much more complicated and difficult. That's why you have to take care to build these things in. I believe if I could go back and talk to my younger self, a thing that I would say is live a life of generosity. Not only tithing to the Lord, but I would also say being generous with your gifts, your time, being generous of sowing encouragement into the lives of others, finding someone that you can be a blessing to, finding someone that you see something in that you can encourage and you can mentor them. A life of generosity is really a successful life. It just is a spiritual principle that's built into the world, just like the law of gravity. You can't be too generous. Stingy people begin to shrivel up and become so self-focused. I believe one of the more successful ways to live and to lead is to be a generous person. I believe I would tell my younger self, if I could go back and have a conversation, would be make sure when your time is done, you leave this world a far better place than you found it. Make a difference. Oftentimes, we think only people like presidents and politicians and athletes are the only people who, or philanthropists are the folks who can really make a difference. All of us can make the world a better place. It starts in our home. It starts in our neighborhood. It starts with the people that we have influence in. Now, some of us are in positions where it takes elections to replace us, and so this is a little bit of a difficult challenge. But for many of us, if you're in the position in your business where they're going to rely heavily upon you to help find your replacement, make sure you finish well. I would go back and tell my younger self, finish well, pass off the baton. Some of you may have some influence in who you're going to pass that baton to. Others of us won't. But make sure that you end well. There's nothing worse than a leader who has had a wonderful run and has accomplished and done many excellent things, but who seem right now to be doing nothing more than just coasting. Don't coast. Another thing that I would say to my younger self is always exercise your courage muscle. Be brave enough to resist the status quo. Be brave enough to resist the effort that others have to try to fit you into the mode and the methodologies that they want you to fit into. Always develop the freedom to be who you are. Now, I'm not talking about being a rule breaker, but have courage. There are going to be times in your life that you may feel at that moment you're standing by yourself, that no one else is with you and no one else agrees with you. And you have to have the courage to stand by your convictions and to live the way that you know you need to live. I would say to my younger self, please develop those courage muscles. One of the interesting little books that I read was written by Adam Braun. He's the founder of the nonprofit Pencils of Promise, helping those around the world be in a position to receive an education. And he's the one that said your real true self-discovery begins at the end of your comfort zone. I think that I would finish this podcast by just saying, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would say don't spend a lot of time making sure that you're comfortable. First of all, it's an unworthy and a goal that is difficult, if not actually impossible to achieve. Do the best you can while you can, but don't just be comfortable. To continue to move forward, we have to stretch ourselves. We have to be willing to go places that we wouldn't necessarily go to by ourselves. And there are a lot of organizations that are just stuck today because past leaders would not make some uncomfortable decisions to help move things forward. You cannot be blind to the way things are, and you cannot keep pretending you don't know what you know. You know things need to change. You know things are not going well. You know you were called there to do something and to make a difference. And don't just be there to collect a paycheck, to just ride and bide the time. You are there to make a difference. You really are. You have been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, if you would please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable other excellent people just like you to be able to locate this podcast. Remember today, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.